Here are the top stories for today, August 16, 2019. Indigenous peoples' leaders expressed fear for their lives for telling the truth about the abuses of the CPP, NPA, NDF. The government vows to keep reporting what it calls the true numbers in the war on drugs. Malacanang questions the latest passage of a Chinese warship at Sibutu Strait without informing the government. And the Department of Labor and Employment sees no need to ban the deployment of Filipinos to Hong Kong amid ongoing protests. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The tribal leaders who recently traveled to the United States for a truth caravan on the plight of the tribal communities in Mindanao say they are fearing for their lives as well as for their families. Datu Malapandao Nestor Apas, chief of Langilan Manobo tribe of Davao del Norte, recalled how they sought the help of the military to secure them from the CPP, NPA, NDF. Their fears were compounded when a malicious video surfaced on the internet accusing the tribal leaders of being pro-government paramilitaries. APA said some of their leaders now hesitate to seek help for fear of being accused of selling their ancestral domains. The so-called ambassadors of truth presented a list of human rights violations committed by the CPP-NPA before the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Meanwhile, Chari Balinan, secretary of the Mindanao Indigenous Peoples Youth Organization, underscored the need for a broader dissemination of IP issues to the public. The ambassadors of truth said they look forward to the conduct of another truth caravan in Switzerland in September. Meanwhile, officials of the Philippine Army and the Philippine National Police called on Negros Occidental youth to be wary of the new People's Army recruitment in schools. Brigadier General Benedict Arevalo of the 303rd Infantry Brigade said on Thursday that he has been going around schools, including colleges and universities, to expose the deception and lies of the CPP, NPA, NDF. This is to stop the youth from joining militant organizations that can lead to recruitment to the NPA. The Negros Occidental Police Provincial Office issuing testimonies of former rebels to counter the CPP-NPA's recruitment and propaganda campaign in schools. They are also planning to play the testimonies at shopping malls and transport terminals to make more people aware of the deception of the CPP-NPA and prevent them from enticing more recruits. Meanwhile, a freelance writer from Leyte is advising students against joining anti-government organizations. Loti Salarda said she joined the League of Filipino Students in 2007 to escape from family problems. She then worked as a media safety officer of the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, or NUJP. She said she abandoned the left-leaning ideology because the NUJP blames the government every time a journalist is killed, but it doesn't show appreciation when a case is solved by authorities. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police on Thursday said the reinstatement of the anti-subversion law will lead to the natural death of the local armed communist movement. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde said the PNP fully supports the initiatives of Interior Secretary Eduardo Año to restore the anti-subversion law that outlaws the Communist Party of the Philippines. Albayalde says the revival of the law would augment President Rodrigo Duterte's Executive Order No. 70, which is aimed at ending the communist insurgency in the country. Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte supports the fair treatment of members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo reacted to the viral report on trans woman Gretchen Diaz, who was barred from entering a female restroom in a mall in Cubao, Quezon City. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the act violates the city's gender fair ordinance that protects members of the LGBT community from discrimination. Panelo also said the palace's position is to respect LGBT. Panelo, however, acknowledged that the mall and cleaning crew has issued an apology to Diaz and expressed willingness to be educated on LGBT rights. Meantime, Panelo said the palace will leave to Congress the passage of the Sexual Orientation or Gender Identity or Expression Equality Bill. President Rodrigo Duterte will await the results of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's investigation into the alleged fraud and corruption in the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. Malacanang on Thursday reacted to the statement of former PhilHealth Board member Roberto Salvador, who identified 7 persons as being part of an alleged mafia that misused the state health insurance agency's funds for years. Salvador said the mafia he meant is a close group of influential persons. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said he did not know any of them, but recalled that former PhilHealth President Roy Ferrer may have had enemies within the agency. The alleged PhilHealth mafia was first brought up during Duterte's meeting with its officials last June 10. The National Bureau of Investigation is currently probing the alleged mafia responsible for the fraudulent health insurance claims.
There is an ongoing investigation. Siyempre, the President will wait for the findings. He will never allow or tolerate any irregularity or corruption in this government, regardless of any relationship to him or whether or not those people are allied with him politically.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office vows to continue telling the people about the actual and honest efforts of the government in solving drug problem in the country. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar on Thursday noted the administration's significant strides in reaching its goal of positive change, which the people ought to know. He said rehabilitation is established to tell the people that rehabilitation programs are given priority and serious attention by the government. PCOO Assistant Secretary and Chief Brand Integrator Ramon Qualaping III also explained the significance of telling the real numbers in the fight against drugs. According to Qualaping, the government has been able to conduct 134,583 anti-drug operations and arrests, 193 and 86,000 drug personalities. Of the number, only 5,526 drug personalities had died in legitimate anti-drug operations conducted from July 1, 2016 to June 30, 2019. In other news, a group of hotel and restaurant workers on Thursday welcomed the enactment of Republic Act 11360, or the Service Charge Law, which mandates the full and equal distribution of service charges collected to rank-and-file and supervisory employees of hotels, restaurants, and similar establishments. The group said they are counting on the support of the lawmakers on the mandatory collection of 10% service charge in all hotels, restaurants, and similar establishments for the benefit of all workers in the industry. Meanwhile, Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat has issued a directive to all DOT officials to participate in the lifestyle check of the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission. Romulo Puyat said she will submit herself as well as other DOT officials to the lifestyle check of the PACC to show that they are one with the administration's anti-corruption drive. Still to come, Malacanang questions the latest passage of a Chinese warship at Sibutu Strait without informing the government. The Baguio City government eyes requiring households to set up composting areas for biodegradable waste. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
It is not enough that we elect women. We have to choose both men and women who are committed to the cause of gender equality and women's empowerment. It is imperative that we in the women's movement take a serious look at the remaining obstacles to the full realization of the law.
Malacanang expressed concern on Thursday over a Chinese warship's unauthorized passage through the Sibutu Strait in the waters of Tawi-Tawi, despite China's assurance to maintain friendly ties with the Philippines. The passage of a Chinese warship in Philippine waters came following Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Jinhua's earlier commitment that the Chinese government would seek the permission of the Philippine government first. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the government will file another diplomatic protest if proven that there is a violation in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. He also agreed with Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana that China's consistent driving away Filipino fishermen within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone could be considered an act of bullying. President Duterte is expected to bring up the completion of the Code of Conduct, or COC, on the South China Sea when he meets Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing this month to invoke the PCA ruling won by the Philippines against China. Malacanang hailed on Thursday President Rodrigo Duterte's economic team and revenue-generating agencies for the administration's strong fiscal performance in the first semester of 2019. The Duterte administration's revenues rose by 9.7% during the said period, with tax revenues growing by 10.1%. Meanwhile, revenues collected by the Bureau of Internal Revenue and Bureau of Customs jumped by 10.6% and 8.5% respectively. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo meanwhile thanked Filipinos for their sacrifices as the government pursued its comprehensive tax reform program. He also assured the public that the administration will reinvigorate the domestic economy for the succeeding semester. The government will not be able to fully finance the universal health care law if lawmakers will not approve the proposed excise tax hikes on sin products. Finance Undersecretary Carl Kendrick Chua stressed on Thursday before the Senate's Ways and Means Committee that health services may be reduced in quality or reach due to lack of government funds. Chua, however, declined to give figures of the would-be affected beneficiaries, noting the Department of Health and PhilHealth know this better. On Tuesday, the House Ways and Means Committee adopted a House bill increasing taxes on alcohol products that was approved on third reading but failed the plenary in the 17th Congress. Chua said gains from the measure on its first year of implementation are estimated at 17 billion pesos, about half of the 33 billion under the DOF proposal. The government estimates universal health care's 5-year funding requirement to be around 1.437 trillion pesos. Retail industry players have reiterated their opposition to the measure to reduce the minimum capitalization for foreign retailers intending to put up operations in the country. The Philippine Retailers Association noted the need to protect the small and medium enterprises from foreign counterparts. Chairman Sammy Lim on Thursday cited moves in Congress to bring down the minimum paid-up capital for foreign firms to $200,000 from the current $2.5 million. He said once the capital is lowered, they will be competing with small and medium enterprises. Lim further said the SME sector plays a key role in job creation and workers based here may be forced to move overseas. Lim noted that various groups support a minimum paid-up capital of $2.5 million for foreign enterprises. And if you are craving for more fruits, visit Kidapawan City as they celebrate the Eat All You Can fruits this month. More than 4,000 kilos of assorted fruits are being served to both foreign and local tourists as the city commences its Timpupo or Harvest Festival on Thursday. Hundreds of fruit lovers took turns in eating mangustin, durian, lanzones, and rambutan, among others, at the City Plaza grounds. The Eat All You Can Festival is set to culminate on August 18, which marks the city's 72nd founding anniversary. Meanwhile, the Los Baños Science Community Foundation is gearing up for its 3-day 11th Ciencia, the Los Baños Science Festival, from August 28 to 30 at the UPLB Baker Hall. Among the event highlights are Wanderama, which features actual and interactive exhibits of technologies in agriculture, aquatic and fisheries, forestry, and natural resources. There will also be a public discussion on ecological conservation and cleanliness of the community. Meanwhile, in Baguio City, all households and establishments will soon be required to have their own composting areas for biodegradable wastes. Mayor Benjamin Magalong urged residents and business owners in the city to adopt their own backyard composting methods and technologies to lessen the city's biodegradable waste production. Up next, the Department of Labor and Employment sees no need to ban the deployment of Filipinos to Hong Kong amid ongoing protests. Task Force Bangon Marawi allows residents of the city's Ground Zero to rebuild their homes. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
In this digital age, the internet and the social media have empowered almost everyone, not only to consume a practically endless amount of information, but also create and disseminate our own content. The youth are at the forefront of this digital economy, with young people all over the world being the most active users of the internet. The latest data from the International Telecommunication Union showed that around 70% of the world's youth aged 15 to 24 are online. While the internet has its many advantages, it brings some danger too. To promote media and information literacy, or MIL, among the youth of ASEAN, the Philippine Information Agency, in partnership with the Infocom Media Development Authority of Singapore and with funding support from the Japan-ASEAN Integration Fund, spearheaded the ASEAN-Japan Media and Information Literacy for the Youth project. This will help the young users of internet to be more discerning and responsible in their online activities. In March 2018, a forum on cyber wellness was attended by representatives from public information, media, academe, and youth sectors of all the 10 ASEAN member states. Resource speakers provided valuable insights on 4 cyber wellness aspects: developing healthy digital habits, building resilience against cyberbullying and other negativity online, discerning consumption and responsible sharing of information online, and keeping safe online. Aside from the forum, other efforts were undertaken to promote MIL. PIA embarked on the development of multimedia materials with the University of the Philippines College of Mass Communication Foundation Incorporated. Also, an audience analysis was conducted to look into the youth's level of awareness in terms of online safety and their preferred messaging strategies. Along with these, the ASEAN core values and digital literacy was considered in the development of the multimedia materials. In May 2019, the production of multimedia materials was completed. Today, we are ready to present to the Philippines the outputs of this months-long work in the hope that this could help bring about a Filipino youth population that is responsible and safe online.
The Labor Department sees no need to impose a ban on the deployment of overseas Filipino workers to Hong Kong for now. DOLE Secretary Silvestre Bello III said the Department of Foreign Affairs has not yet raised the alert level in Hong Kong. Bello also directed labor officials there to provide him with a periodic report on the situation should tension escalate. At the same time, he advised OFWs to stay indoors and avoid going to areas where protests are happening. Likewise, he discouraged Filipinos from wearing white or black shirts while on the streets to avoid being mistaken as protesters. The protest stemmed from a bill that would allow extraditions to mainland China. Majority of Filipino workers in Hong Kong are household service workers. And in our foreign news, Japan on Thursday marked the 74th anniversary of its surrender in World War II, with Emperor Naruhito expressing his deep remorse over Japan's wartime actions. The emperor, whose ascension saw Japan's new Reiwa era ushered in, also said that he hoped the ravages of war would never be repeated. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, in his address at the ceremony held at the Nippon Budokan in Tokyo's Chiyoda district, vowed not to repeat the tragedy of war. At the ceremony, floral tributes were paid by teenagers as a way of saying that the horror of the war should be remembered by younger generations. A moment of silence was observed at the Nippon Budokan for the lives lost in the war, including the victims in the U.S. atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Both seniors and youngsters attended these gatherings, expressing their idea that Japan should not resort to force and should take a peaceful way. Residents living inside Ground Zero during the Battle of Marawi are now allowed to go back to their homes. Housing Secretary and Task Force Bangon Marawi Chair Eduardo Del Rosario said residents in the most affected area may start constructing or repairing their structures after securing permits. Over 6,000 structures were affected during the 5-month war against the Dawla Islamiyah in 2017. Del Rosario emphasized that no structure owner will be allowed to construct anything unless they follow the building code. Meanwhile, Del Rosario said vertical management works will start in the last quarter of the year. Vertical works include installation of power, water and telecom lines, construction of schools, market convention centers, hospitals, and other government facilities. He said the local government of Marawi has already submitted its documents for projects such as the construction of barangay halls, the Grand Central and Padian markets, a promenade museum, and a peace memorial. Organizers of this year's Kabira Food Showcase in Cagayan de Oro City highlighted the significance of halal cuisine. Kabira is one of the major events of Cagayan de Oro's annual Higalaay Festival. The Cagayan de Oro Hotel and Restaurant Association, or COHARA, led Kabira's opening Wednesday with the unveiling of the Masters category, where cooks and chefs vie to prepare dishes that are pork-free. COHARA President Bong Pelaez said Kabira Masters competition this year is intended for professional chefs in northern Mindanao. Pelaez also said that the promotion of halal food categories would equip local cooks and chefs for them to be able to compete in the Southeast Asian market. In his welcome message, Mayor Oscar Moreno praised COHARA for organizing Kabira for over 2 decades now, saying local food is a major component of the Higalaay Festival. He expressed appreciation for COHARA for introducing the foods of their Muslim community. In our weather outlook from Pag-asa, Ilocos Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Batanes, and Babuyan Group of Islands will experience cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms brought by southwest monsoon, while Metro Manila and the rest of the country will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers due to localized thunderstorms. Let's now check out the weather outlook for the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Indigenous peoples leaders expressed fear for their lives for telling the truth about the abuses of the CPP, NPA, and NDF. The government vows to keep reporting what it calls the true numbers in the war on drugs. Malacanang questions the latest passage of a Chinese warship at Sibutu Strait without informing the government. And the Department of Labor and Employment sees no need to ban the deployment of Filipinos to Hong Kong amid ongoing protests. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And remember, never let yesterday take too much of today. Let's all live in the present. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.